Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Alien Encounters #1, a 1981 underground published by Fanico Comics. And Fanico was an interesting comic book company. They were a comic book store in Albany, New York. And every now and then, infrequently, they'd publish comics. I imagine as soon as they got enough money together. And ever since the late 70s, they've been publishing stuff. They kind of kicked in a high gear in the 80s. They were actually regularly publishing stuff, it seemed like, for a while. And now it seems like they're back to just every now and then doing a little project here and there. But I'm glad they're still around. They always did interesting stuff. They published the earliest Hembeck compilations, those Hembeck comics. They published a lot of good Night of the Living Dead related comics, and a couple of anthologies. Over the years, they did actually quite a few. This is one of their earliest ones, and this is a really fun comic. Just lots of great contributors. We start off with a cover by George Chastain. This guy painted a lot of stuff for comics and for other media. Pretty good pastiche of the 50s sci-fi horror movie type thing. So this is the special flying saucer issue. Unfortunately, it was the only issue, so we never got to see what other alien constructs would be focused upon. So here we have a beautiful inside front cover by Steve Bissette. Young Steve Bissette, fresh out of the Kubert School. The first extraterrestrial visitor to Earth. And we see these two rowdy aliens like drinking brewskis, basically joyriding through the Pleistocene era, or the Cretaceous era, I should say, just chopping off this brontosaurus's neck with their ship. God, Steve Bissette, I can't believe just how accomplished he was as a youngster. He was just so good. And here we have a little contents scroll here. And this is edited by Larry Schell, who also brought us 50s Funnies. And I think he did a couple other undergrounds where he edited them. And his stuff is like always kind of in between undergrounds and like maybe what they used to call ground level. Because he has a lot of mainstream creators in his comics with some underground guys mixed in. So it kind of like borderline underground, but definitely I would consider this an underground. I didn't mention, I wanted to show that, I don't know why, but this comic is this weird size. See how it's not a magazine size, but it's just like, I don't know, an inch wider and longer than a normal comic. I've never seen a comic this size. Very strange. So we start off with, once again, beautiful Steve Bissette art here. Just really good stuff. We see Earth invasion. These little globes descend from this starship onto Earth. They're full of these alien creatures who just start attacking Earth. This is written by Larry Schell, by the way. And then it's almost like a Mars Attacks cards. We just see these aliens like destroying our Air Force and ravaging the planet, killing millions of people, slaughtering them. This guy has this woman's head just ripped off. God, this Steve Bissette art is so good. With all of the duotone and the shadings and charcoal, all this like different methods of drawing. We see the humans enslaved. And it looks like they've totally conquered the Earth. Look at these ghostly faces of all the humans. Kind of like with all this zipatone. Just amazing craft. I guess the Kubert School really knew how to teach their students how to do shit. And then we see Earth invasion. Game over, game over, game over. Oh, Dad, just one more game. And we see these two aliens. It turns out it was all just a video game. Or I guess, yeah, a video game. Even though I think back then the concept of a video game was not that well known. It almost looks like a weird pinball video game hybrid. But these aliens are great with their myriad of eyes, like the eyeball kid. Next we have Steve Niles. doing Chairman Mao and the Men from Mars. And this is some really nice Steve Niles art. This is just some slick stuff. And basically the narrator is telling us that we've all been duped by the big lie. I guess Chairman Mao, I don't know, I think he died around the 70s. I don't know. I should know that. But we see the real reason why Chairman Mao died is because China was visited by these aliens. And Chairman Mao tries to sweet-talk him and charm him. And one of them just takes Chairman Mao, who rips the skeleton out of his body. Very weird. Nice page. Speaking of Fred Hembeck, so this is pretty terrible. There's no business like space business. And apparently there's this alien race and they all have two heads. And kind of leads to a schizophrenic culture. And one of the heads is saying, we're stationed on Earth again. Oh, how I envy those Earth people. And he's basically saying, oh, I wish I didn't have to have two heads. I have to deal with this dude all the time. And they just start bickering like brothers, you know. And talking about how, yeah, every time I'm about to score points with a girl, you know, you ruin it because you creep him out. So they're just basically are not happy being on the same body. And they're just kibitzing. And then, of course, Fred Hembeck weaves in many corny jokes, super corny jokes, which is Fred Hembeck was wont to do. Oh, my God. To give you the tenor of this humor, he makes this elaborate setup about how we're going to land near a hardware store just so they can walk in and ask the proprietor, take me to your ladder. That's just so bad. It's a panel of setup, too. And just the crappy drawing, no background. It's just not good. Oh yeah, there's this one panel where they're talking about buzzing the Earth, just like flying around. You know how UFOs do? Where it's like, why are the UFOs always just like flying around the sky, never landing? They traveled all across the galaxy to get here, and then they just kind of flit about. This next one is written by Tim Boxell, and he does the inks as well, and pencils by Rich Larson. In the mid to late 70s, Tim Boxell and Rich Larson were like Simon and Kirby. Those guys were always collaborating. They were a total art team. And this is not the best story. It's called Fast Food. And we see these hunters out in the woods. They see a UFO. It kind of vacuums them up. And it turns out their fate is just to be a meal for these crazy-looking aliens. And I guess they're leaving Earth soon, the solar system, so they're like, let's get a little fast food before we go. These humans are tasty. So they're basically on the hunt for more food. They go to Switzerland. They get this yodeler. They eat him. And then they're near Germany. We see Germany, and we see this guy running from like a mob. The whole town seems to be trying to get him. We see the inspector here, who is kind of strange. They're all chasing this guy, and he drives away. He says, oh, they'll take care of it. I'm going to go home. But finally, we'll capture that Minkveld's character. So this guy Minkveld is fighting his way through the town. They're just totally hot in pursuit. And right when they finally corner him, the UFO swoops him up. But just as he's about to enter the ship, the full moon comes out. And he turns into a werewolf. And so one of the aliens goes into the room where they suck up humans to retrieve the meat. And of course he gets an unpleasant surprise and the werewolf attacks him. The other one says, hey, what's taking him so long? So he goes in, the werewolf kills him too. And then he figures out how to operate the spaceship. And he finds that inspector guy who's been leading the witch hunt all this time and sucks him up just so he can have a little fast food. Very interesting art style. Witch Larson in the first place. But then with the Boxell inks, very like kind of loose and kind of like Larson. Here we have a center spread by Rudy Nebres. And as is usual, Rudy Nebres draws some beautiful stuff. Typical alien invasion type thing. Seems like aliens only want our beautiful women. They're always clutching just very pretty ladies. They never grab like Ethel Merman or Roseanne Barr. Saucer Attack by George Erling, a longtime mini-comic stalwart, and of course in quite a few undergrounds as well. This is a cute little jokey comic. These aliens come down, they see an alien craft. Well, alien to them. They see a local craft, a native vessel. They blow it out of the sky. Kind of looks like this UFO. And then all of a sudden, they see like hundreds of them coming at them. And they're like, let's get out of here. We're leaving this Earth place. And then we realize it's annual Frisbee throw day. And one of the kids, of course, has his Frisbee blown up. He says, what happened to your Frisbee? Pretty dopey, but kind of cute. I like George Erling. Next, we have Surviving Sun, which is written and drawn by Mike Zeck. And very slick. It looks like a total Marvel DC comic. Around this time, I think Zeck had already gone to Marvel from Charlton. Or maybe he was right in the midst of that. Though I'm pretty sure he definitely is at Marvel at this point. And this is such a weird, like almost like fan fiction, kind of useless story, where we see these like Jor-El and what's Superman's mom's name? I can't remember. Lara. They're like doppelgangers holding a little baby, and they're heading to Krypton for a visit. As they approach Krypton, it blows up. And they see one lone spaceship, one lone rocket escaping the destruction of Krypton. They pull it in with a docking cord, thinking that maybe they could use something from the rocket, because their ship, the destruction of Krypton has crippled their ship. The debris has shot through space and hit their ship and destroyed. It's not going to last long. There's like a day of life support left. So they open it up, and it's a Kryptonian. In this comic, this is what Kryptonians actually look like. And the baby is already dead from couldn't take the explosion. So they figure, well, at the very least, we can save our son. And they put him in the rocket, and he continues on his way. And he's even got the little Superman cowlick. He's going to grow up, obviously, to be Superman. But it's such a weird, idea. So who cares? What's the difference? Nothing's really changed. I don't know. This next one I love. Steve Bissette solo, Pick of the Litter. I've seen this reprinted in a bunch of Steve Bissette's compilations over the years. I think I saw this when I was a little kid in, one of the Bedlam, that Eclipse two-issue micro-series that collects Bissette and Veitch. Oh, look at this just beautiful craft here. Drawing these mountains and the sky. God, I think he's still a teenager at this time. At most he's 20, or early 20s. But this is just beautiful. We see this weird alien creature with, basically it's an eye, where his second eye should be as a giant nostril, and he's picking away at his nose. He's making these gross sound effects. Snick, smoke, book, book, book. And then all of a sudden, it looks like he sneezes. Flarp. And then it's a little baby in the phlegm. It's a boy. I don't know why I love this comic so much. I love this design of these creatures with the one eye and the giant nostril. This has got the goods. This next one's a pretty dumb story, and it's drawn by Tom Yeates, though. Let me see I forgot who wrote this one. A guy named Bill Kelly. This one's called Watcher from the Skies. We see a bunch of slave traders rounding up African people, and they're just horrible, as you can imagine. But they're sadistic, and they're whipping them for no good reason. And the captain even takes one of them into his cabin to basically rape her. And then a UFO comes down. There's a Malaysian on board, and he, I guess, saw the UFO the night before and tried to warn the captain. He basically is just ranting. He's like, they'll be back to kill us all. And of course, the captains will throw that guy overboard as soon as we're out to sea. He's a nut. So the UFO comes back. The Malaysian's the only one to see it. And it's studying everyone on the ship. So, I said that these comics, these Larry Shell edited comics, they're, not as extreme as a lot of undergrounds, but they definitely are underground. Like, here we just see a cabin boy curling up in the crotch of this sailor with his pants off. So, you wouldn't see that in, Star Reach, a normal ground level comic. There is some, weird stuff in here. Kind of naughty stuff. So the next morning, I guess the captain is going to behead that woman that he was with the night before. As a lesson, it seems like she didn't do anything bad, but he's just going to kill her. And he's going to chop her head off. And right as the sword's about to come down, this ray comes from the UFO. And look at this, just burns the flesh off of his hand. It's a death ray. And then they just start killing all of the slave traders. Just sweeping across the deck, incinerating all of them. This is interesting seeing this early Tom Yeates. Unlike Steve Bissette, he definitely grew a lot. I think he's a graduate of Kubert at this time too. I didn't really point out, he's using a lot more zipper-tone type stuff. And then look at this, almost like Filipino style, the way he draws the waves. So he definitely refined his art quite a bit in just the next 2 years after this. He's already starting to work for DC, doing backups and stuff. But this is it's interesting to see how he grew as an artist pretty quickly. So the death rate completely spares the slaves. Doesn't kill any of the slaves. And then it lands, and all the slaves walk onto the ship. And the only one left alive is the Malaysian. His mind is completely shattered. He cannot understand what he just saw. And now we see the UFO pilot, and he thinks to himself the rescue mission is a success. And I guess the irony is that these aliens look like black people, but with big, long Spock ears. So, just dumb. This one's kind of fun. Howard Cruse, UFO Indoors. First of all, just look at the craft of Cruse, man. He's so good. I love his cartooning. There's no excuse for tolerating a UFO indoors. It's so weird. We see this couple. Oh, I didn't mention, it's a Big Marvy spectacular. I've never seen Big Marvy before, this character. And one day this couple wakes up, there's a UFO in their house. And they're not shocked or anything. They're just considered a nuisance. So they're like, oh, now we're going to be up all night. How did they get in here? The windows are closed. And it's just a lot of slapstick humor of them trying to wrangle this UFO. And they're trying to swat it with a broom, trying to just jump on it. Finally, they smash a door into it. And the man here bashes it with a telephone. Yeah, excuse me. And then they're spraying it with bug spray. It almost seems like it's a living organism. And then the husband says, it's like I said, there's no excuse for tolerating a UFO indoors. Of course, outdoors is a whole different ballgame. Because a UFO outdoors is part of the natural ecological balance. And we see them frolicking with these UFOs happily outside with a little deer fawn, and it looks like a Disney movie. And then he says, I just hope the Pentagon can appreciate the distinction. And we see all these tanks around one of these cute little UFOs. And the Army guys are like, fuck it, let's blast the bugger. It's some analogy to something, but I'm not quite sure what they're talking about. It's obviously like the UFOs represent something, and I just don't know what it is. But I just like the comic for its just like zany antics. Next, we have another Tom Yeates drawn story, this time by Larry Shell. This time written by Larry Shell. And Larry Shell's not a very good writer, I gotta say. He has these kind of quaint old ideas about, comics. So there's a sci-fi story, as you can tell by the art. It looks like Tom Yeates is doing his best to do Al Williamson. He's got the mushrooms. This art looks very different than the previous story that we saw by him. But still, you can see like some of the crudity. Like, the faces are a little off. Once again, within 2 years, Tom Yeates is going to be way better than this. He gives a shout out to Rick Veitch here, talking about some alien fauna called the feathered veitch, a bizarre type of chipmunk. Or Veitch. I always forget how to say his name. So a spaceship lands on this planet. This planet is like an outpost planet where there's this like military installation. Nobody ever comes to visit, friend or foe. So it's very odd that this rocket ship lands and this guy in a business suit comes out and talks to the commander of the base, of the outpost. Apparently, they don't come to terms. The businessman-looking guy tries to show him these papers, and when the commander finds out the content of these papers, he flies into a rage and ejects the guy from the planet. The guy angrily exits and enters into a spaceship, waving his fist at them, saying, I'll return, I shall return. 2 days later he returns, but he's not alone. He's got all these other warships. And they attack the outpost. And they prevail and kill most everyone in the outpost. Almost all the survivors are wounded, including the commander. And we see this other spaceship land. The businessman-looking guy comes out, and the commander is forced to sign those papers. And then he leaves, and he tells one of his second in command, says, Roberts, that was one tough insurance salesman. Wah, wah, wah. So it's all just one big gag. I know, not bad, though. I like this Tom Yeates art. It looks like a golden age art from, like, Fiction House Comics or something, It's like Jay Disbrow, one of those guys. And then we have this amazing cover by Tom Sutton. I wish this was in full color. But this just looks like, when you look at a drawing or a painting and you're like, oh, what's the story behind this? I wish there was a story. And maybe there was a story relating to this, and I don't know where it is, but this just looks so cool. Whatever the hell's going on here, this psychotic sphinx. And beams are coming out of his eyes, and this crazy, looks like an Egyptian UFO. And this, like, hippogriff. This is such a cool drawing. Tom Sutton. He has such a great imagination. It's kind of amazing that he was just always, like, working for Charlton for peanuts. And he never really had a name. He was never, like, a fan favorite. But for year after year, he just chugged along, just cranking out amazing stuff, drawing like nobody else. This is a really wicked one. never seen this before. This is a pretty recent acquisition, this underground comic, Alien Encounters #1. Probably paid too much for it, but at this point, I'm desperate to get more undergrounds. I don't know if you guys have read my message. I don't even know where to find it on the site myself. I just posted it, and I can't even find it where it is. But apparently some of you have read it, and I'm basically asking if anyone has any spare underground comics to donate to the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. I'm actually running out of underground comics I can show on YouTube. I have some of my best undergrounds I can't show, and I've got many of them. I am working on starting I believe I'm going to try to do something on OnlyFans where I can show off all of those comics plus all the other naughty comics I have that are too dirty for YouTube. I think it's going to be called the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies After Dark. That's going to be the name of it. So keep your eye out for that. In the meantime, if any of you want to Google me, Gmail me, my address is in the notes. And if you have any comics you can donate undergrounds, there's a list on that note of what I need. It's actually a list of everything I have. So I need to fill in the holes that aren't there. So if you have any of the comics that are not on that list from my checklist, and you maybe have doubles of them, and you just want to get rid of them and donate, I'd be eternally grateful. Because mainly I just want to keep, every 4 or 5 episodes I like to do an underground. It's just been the pattern of this whole channel's existence, and I don't want to stop. So I still have a handful left because there's some repeat people I haven't done. I try to not repeat creators too often. So I already started with my second Vaughn Baudet video, and but yeah, if any of you guys can help out, that would be amazing. And I guess I could offer some money. I have Venmo and PayPal, so let me know. So hope you're doing great, and hope you enjoyed today's video. And thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.